All right, we are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Where Do I Fit In, the talk show with your host, Victoria Hicks. And right now, if you're probably watching the replay, welcome to the replay, and I hope you enjoy this broadcast. For those of you that are watching us live, thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please come in and join us. As you all come in, don't be afraid to share this broadcast and let us know where you are tuning in from. Let us know how your Monday evening is and all of that good stuff. So make sure that you're coming on in. Let us know what's going on. Where are you and how you're doing? And welcome. This is Black Love Edition. We have some amazing couples on here tonight. So I'm super excited about this show. I know that it's going to be a blessing. I know you're going to be excited. So I don't want to delay the time because we have a lot to discuss. So welcome, welcome, welcome again. This is Where Do I Fit In, the talk show with your host, Victoria Hicks. If you don't know who I am the CEO of the Victoria Hicks brand, where I curate spaces for Black women to know their purpose, operate in purpose, and live on purpose. And here at the Victoria Hicks brand, we are curating spaces where we amplify the Black voice. And so I'm so excited to be here back for season 2. Thank you all for supporting us during season 1. And if you notice, if you're looking and you have been following us since the beginning of this journey, there are some familiar faces on here tonight. And so we brought back some people that were on previous season and previous shows to come back and talk about Black love. So without further ado, tonight we are celebrating Black love. We're celebrating Black History Month. So I just feel as though you cannot celebrate Black History Month without talking about Black love, because Black love has literally carried Black people through a lot. And so it has been the marriages of Black people and the family unit that has literally changed the trajectory of our people. And so we must celebrate Black love. Hey, Novi, how are you? Hey, Mom. Hey, Phil, look at Phil. How y'all doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you all come in, please don't forget to share this broadcast, as well as we are live on YouTube right now. And so if you want to go on YouTube and watch us, you can find us at it's telling me now that it's live on YouTube. We're live on YouTube at the Victoria Hicks brand. And so you can find us there. Oh, thank you. Yes, these are our shirts. We got these off Amazon. And
at the bottom of mine.
Yes. It says, I like his beard.
And I like her butt.
Yeah. So pretty much that sums up our relationship. So as we get started, I want the panelists to introduce themselves. And I'm first going to start off with ourselves because we're the newbies. We're newlyweds still in this game. So I am Victoria Hicks.
And I am Johnny Hicks.
This is my husband. I am his wife. I am currently the science instructional coach for Seminole County Public Schools. I am also the new owner of a boutique, the Victoria Hicks brand boutique, which I'm super excited about, which is coming soon. So make sure you're following me so that you can make sure that you're involved in all the things that's going on. And what about you?
I am currently a security officer for Seminole County Schools.
Why are you eating ice online?
I was trying to talk about you turned to me too fast. I was trying
all the people see you eating ice. Like we had plenty of time to eat this ice.
I was trying to get it down before
okay. Go ahead, sweetie.
I'm currently a security professional for Seminole County Schools.
Mm-hmm.
And also a professional musician. I have my own band as well, the Johnny Hicks Band. And I also am a professional traveling musician for different artists and
churches and all the things. He plays drums. He's really good at it too. All righty. Next, we will have the home. They're next in line. Please introduce
yourself. You're going to make me go first?
You want me to go first?
Yes.
All right.
I'm Chad Holmes. I'm actually a director of reporting for a school group here in Central Florida. We have campuses all over the U.S. and a few other things on the side.
What other things on the side?
A lot of other things.
So many other things. I
All
couldn't
the
even set the list.
things. Okay. Hey everyone, I am Sasha Holmes, the other better half of our Holmes duo. By day, I am a learning consultant / project manager for a human capital management company. And by night or / day, I'm part owner of Riches to Royalty. So follow us on social media, get acquainted. We would love to get to know you. But yeah, and a bunch of other things. We also serve church ministry. We're getting into investments, and a little bit of renovation and real estate has been fun. So yeah.
Lots of other things.
Being so humble and modest, but they do all the things. And if you need anything small business, if you're starting out, you definitely want to reach out to Riches to Royalty. They will hook you up and get you together, i.e. me. So you definitely want to reach out to them. Last but not least, the veterans in the game, Mr. and Mrs. Palmer. Introduce yourselves.
All right. I am Dario Palmer. This is my wife, Dawn. We've been married for 21 years, soon to be 22. I am an educator, mathematics teacher at a middle school for about 28 years now. About to retire soon. Yay. Whoop, whoop. And also I've taught at the collegiate level at Miami-Dade College some time ago. We also have started our ministry, Value Your Marriage, which we now do things on Facebook and YouTube also. And I'm also a real estate investor, been investing in properties since a long time. couple of decades, have some rental properties. And this is my wife. Go ahead.
I'm Dawn, and I am also an educator. I teach in a Christian school now. I teach high school English. We both, like you said, we've taught at the collegiate level. I also taught elementary for 20 years before moving to the high school level. So we're both near retirement. Can't wait. But God has been good and we enjoy it. We really enjoy it. And now working in ministry, it's been awesome.
Yay, absolutely. We have deemed the Palmers our marriage godparents, and we just made it up, but they have just their light, their marriage, their love for each other has been an inspiration to John and I. So we're so excited, and to also see Sasha, who I've known most of my life, married and doing business and preaching and teaching, and it's just been such a joy. So we're excited. You all are in for a treat tonight. So make sure that you share this broadcast. Let your friends know. Single, married, dating, engaged. You definitely want to be involved in this conversation because we're going to talk about it all. All right. So we're going to start off really cute because I know some of you are like, well, who are these couples? They look all melanated and beautiful. They got on their matching shirts. And we did not plan this. We did it. And everybody got on matching shirts. I think that's so cute. We did not plan it, but I love it. And so we're going to start off with the love stories. And so I'm going to start off with the veterans tonight. Share with us, school us on you all's love story. How did you meet and all of the things?
Okay.
She knows the story. So
well, we met back in high school when we were 16. So we have known each other almost 40 years.
Wow.
Something. So God has been awesome. But we were only friends. We were really good friends throughout high school, never dated. He would talk to me about his girlfriends. I would talk to him about my boyfriends. He knew my family. He was always in and out of our home. So they all have a great relationship with him. And then we went off for school, after graduating, and I came home on a break, met a young man, married this young man, but it didn't work out. It only lasted for about 3 years. Had a daughter in the middle of all of that, but God kept us. And, I had to now be the single parent for about 8 years. But within that time period, we reconnected. He would come over and just visit at my mom's, and he would try to cheer me up and all of that wonderful stuff. And it was working. And so we started dating, and that dating, lasted 8 years, and then we married. The proposal was very sweet. He, of course, did the traditional thing of getting down on the one knee. And so I was really happy. Although it was my second go round, God blessed me to be better for the second go round. In that time period, I had to learn a lot of things, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. But it's been beautiful. God has been teaching us all along the way. So we're grateful. Grateful to be here.
I love that. So many times I tell people that their mate is usually right in front of them, and they don't pay it any attention. They just move past it, and then they circle back around and be like, he was there the whole time. So I tell my friends that all the time. So I love that. All right, Sasha and Chad.
All right, where do we start?
Me.
At the beginning.
Okay, so we actually met in church. So we have one of those, I guess, cliche, traditional type of stories where we met in church. I was actually tired of church. I was going to church at after college, moved to Lake Mary, and was going to church at this Episcopalian ministry that was very much the opposite of the color that you see on the screen. And I loved it because they didn't bother me. They had spaghetti nights on Wednesday, $5. They fed us, and, we kept it pushing. And there was a girlfriend of mine, and she's like, you need to come visit my church. And I was like, okay, girl, because after growing up in a church that Victoria and I came from, it's hard to follow up a ministry like that. And so I visited her church, and it was cool or what have you, but just wasn't my flow. And she invited me again to like a prophetic blitz type of night. And again, coming from Black church, you don't let everybody speak over your life, right? And so I was like, you know what? She invited me. Okay, girl, I'll go. And so I went, and I'm sitting in there, and I see this nice red bone run past me. And I'm like, oh, he's interesting. And he goes and does what the Chad thing that Chad does. And I looked down at his shoes. I remember that. And I was like, hi. So long story short, I ended up joining this ministry and had gotten out of a bad relationship. And just was in the pursuit of God, like literally was just like, I'm done with men. I'm done with dating. Had sought godly counsel at the time. And it was just, the guy you were dating, he's not really it, but it'll work if you want it to, but that's not God's best for you. So stop dating. And I went to a church picnic, and Chad and I are both into Christian rap. And so I was like, oh, well, can you give me a CD of the music that you listen to?
The mixtape.
And the rest is history. I'll let you finish the second part of how we actually got together.
Yep. So a few months later, I was on the cruise, and it was with family, and I was kind of chilling by myself. And I was like, man, let me check up on Sasha. And cruise texting prices are crazy. So for that to even come up inside of me was major. So I text her, and then we had this whole conversation, and about $270 worth of text messages. We decide, man, this is something special. You know what I mean? I started out with, I'm not looking to just date around. I've done that before. Whoever I'm with next is going to be the one. So if you're ready to get into something serious, then let me know, where we stand. So kind of develop from there.
Yeah.
And we dated for about 2.5 years, working on ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we got engaged. Yep. And less than a year later, we were married.
Yep.
And you all's engagement was so cute. So tell us how that all happened.
So I was going to do it a different way. We have these leadership retreats as a church, and we're both in leadership. So I was like, let me do it at the retreat. I'm like, no, we're going to do it a little different. So I waited till the top of the year. So it was second week of the year. And I was like, so Wednesday night, I'm going to come up. I'm going to have during the announcements, I'm going to have the last slide to be for her to come up to the stage.
I was like, me come up to the stage? What?
And she's like,
Why?
what? Why would I? What is happening right now? So she comes
I look
up
just
to
like this. Like,
so she's walking up to the stage, and I sneak up behind her, and then I propose on stage at our Wednesday night service.
Yep.
So.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
That's nice.
Mhm.
I love it. So cute. And their wedding was adorable. I love it, love it, love it. So happy for Sasha and Chad. And they're such cool people to be around. So we love it. So John told me to tell this story because he is not the best storyteller.
I do tell stories great,
He just
actually.
he skips a lot of things. So I'm going to be very brief. So we are like Chad. We met at church. My father is the pastor, and so I've been at this church my entire life. I knew of Johnny. Johnny was a musician at our band. He played the drums, and so I knew of him. I did not know his last name. Everyone called him Big John, because John was a lot bigger then. And so I just knew him as Big John. I knew nothing else about him, didn't look at him at all. He was just a musician. So 8 years of seeing him every Sunday, we don't pay each other any attention. Then one year, I decide that I'm going to teach Vacation Bible School. Y'all know how Vacation Bible School is. So I teach Vacation Bible School. I show up to Vacation Bible School to teach my teenagers, and we go to the game room at the church that they had set up for the kids. You know, it'd be Vacation Bible School is nothing but arts and crafts on steroids, right? So we go to the craft game room, and I'm dropping my kids off, and John is there. So I hate to say this, but most Black church musicians, unless they are related to the pastor, don't get involved in other parts of the church. They just come, they play, and they leave. Now, I know some people are going to be mad at me, but I know I'm telling the truth, right? You don't go to the leadership retreat and see the musicians. You just don't. So at Vacation Bible School, John is the person who's running the game room. So I saw him and was like, why is he here? Like, I kind of got upset the fact that he was there. Like, it irritated me. And now I know it was Holy Spirit, like, pay attention to him. Never paid any attention to him, but that particular Monday of Vacation Bible School, it annoyed me that he was there. He was talking to the kids. He's setting up all the games, and he was getting on my nerves. And I don't know him, anything. It just irritated me. Like, why are you here? So we went through there, and throughout the week, right, we started to kind of look at each other and all that stuff. And I noticed he was checking me out because I'm cute. All right. And so from there, it went from he requested me on all of the social media. And that's when I found out his last name, because I didn't know who he was. He requested me on social media. Mm-hmm. And then basically the rest is history. We kind of talked here and there. I found out he was a pastor's kid too. So that was like an immediate connection. And yeah, we just, next thing you know, we were in relationship. We kept it on the secret, on the low. A lot of people don't know we were dating, and we were in full-blown relationship for about 8 months before anyone knew. We would walk right past each other at church and act like the other person was not there. And that's how that happened. And he proposed very similar to how Chad did on a Sunday service after church. During the young adult conference. So it was Young Adult Sunday, and my friends plotted and said that we were going to go to a luncheon to meet Phaedra Parks from the Housewives of Atlanta. Well, I love trashy TV, so I was game. I did. So I was like, yay, I'm going to the favorite parts after church. Well, then my dad calls a meeting with me in his office. And if you know anything about my dad, that can be an hour-long meeting. So I was annoyed because I just felt like he was going to make me late to go meet favorite parts. So anyways, I go into this meeting with my dad after church, and he's talking about nothing. I just became so irritated. He was like, have you, because I was the youth pastor then, have you thought about going to this retreat? You know, Bishop Jakes is doing a leadership conference. I want you to go. And I'm like, dude, this was an email. You could have sent this as an email. So then all of a sudden he says, there's some commotion in this sanctuary. There's crazy people in the sanctuary. Long story short, we're known at New Birth for having some eclectic people show up at our church. And so I was like, let's go. So when we run into the sanctuary, all of my family and friends are there. Roses are on the pulpit. And he was proposing. So that is our proposal story. And it was absolutely beautiful. It was a complete surprise. So it was great. So yes, that's it. Y'all are cutting up in the comments. All right. Don't forget, we have some of our YouTube people are also joining us. So hello, welcome from YouTube. If you would, you can watch this live on YouTube at the Victoria Hicks brand. And all of my Facebook people, don't forget to share this broadcast. All right. So now I want to talk about in 2020, the world flipped upside down, in my opinion. Ever since Kobe Bryant died, it was just like a very slow decline to I don't know what's going on. And so we went from living our lives to all of a sudden marriages came to a halt, and we found ourselves in a quarantine where a lot of us are working from home. We went from both of us in education, Ms. Palmer's in education, you all working from home, spending lots of time together. And so I thought it was important that we talked about what it was like being married during the pandemic. So which one of you all want to talk about that first?
You want to go?
Doesn't matter.
So I think for us, the pandemic, so we live a very fast life. Being leaders in our ministry, there's always something happening, whether it's Sunday, whether it's Wednesday, there's leadership meetings throughout the week, working out and just balancing life. And one of the things that I love that you said in our pre-talk was that we really only as a family or as a married couple spend about 3 hours, I think you said, together, which for me was even like mind blowing. I don't think we ever really counted up the cost. But what I did know is we fought for date night time because we're constantly busy, and we might have gotten, even though we don't have any kids, maybe a couple nights a month, if that, because the rest of the time we're depleted and tired because we pour out, so much. And so to slow down for us was a blessing. And I think that it caused us to face our dysfunction and just realized that we never really sat down and had conversations like, how am I doing as a wife? Or how are you doing as a husband? Like, we did a lot of fast talking or a lot of dumping really fast and not sitting with our feelings or even waiting for the other person to communicate back, what they're feeling and what they're hearing. Especially me, I think I'm definitely the talker in our marriage. And I think that it gave us an opportunity to do some deep-seated soul work and really sitting down and talking about how, we had some toxic behaviors between the two of us, whether it was passive and me, passive aggressive, oftentimes. And I think we really got an opportunity to do the work that was tough, but it drew us closer.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think slowing down, and especially me, just slowing down and watching my wife. Why is she reacting this way? What am I doing to cause this? how can I change? How can I get better in this time that we're alone or spending time together now? And just slowing myself down because I would just want to move forward or want to move on to the next thing, and really slowing myself to see what was causing this process and really analyzing my actions, what I'm doing, and how this is all going to work together.
Yeah.
And especially since we're spending so much time together, you really have time to think about and see and look and view things from a different perspective than life at a glance, basically, in your relationship. So I think it really helped.
Yeah.
So would you say your connection grew closer?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think before we kind of used to joke, like I had a lot of guy friends growing up. My girlfriend circle was very tight and there were a few faithful in there. But I had a lot of guy friends. And I think that was one of the things, even when we first got married, was like, you know, why do you call X person first before you tell me what's going on? And you're on the phone cackling up and laughing with such and such. But when you talk to me, you know, you're short and curt and defensive sometimes. And so this, honestly, I never really stopped to identify, like, why am I truly that way? And because we were forced to spend time together, he was really the only person that I had to talk to. Right. And so it's like, I don't talk to you because you don't have a lot of words, or I don't talk to you because when I express how I feel, you just want to move to solution versus processing why I feel this way. And those other relationships afford me the opportunity to talk and solution at the same time, right? Like, how did I get here? And let's talk about what we can do moving forward versus just, okay, well, you feel that way. Well, what do I need to do to fix it? And it's like, wait, slow down, hold on, like, talk me through this. And so we got an opportunity to really have those hard conversations, which I think was different because people don't want to face themselves, right? They just want to exist and want to cover up toxic behavior. And thankfully, because I've gone through therapy and I've done the work in other areas of my life, it was easy for me to walk him through, hey, here's how to best treat me. This is how I respond. And tell me how you respond so that when you shut down, I know how to deal with you in that space. And we didn't get the opportunity to talk like that because it's always hustle and bustle and go, go, go. So
there were a lot of, for the first maybe 3 or 4 months, a lot of morning conversations from literally 7 a.m. to like 9 a.m. of us just talking through things. What just happened last night? Why were you upset? Why did this happen this way? You know what I mean? Because we were so used to moving so fast that we didn't have time to process those moments and analyze them and then work at them together. We're working at them separately, and then our little times together, we were still finding ourselves in conflict. So it was really great to have that time to work through things and not just let those things slip by and get frustrated with each other because we don't want to work on ourselves. You know. So.
I told one of the things that, I don't know if this aggravated you, but he became my coworker, like my water, like my get the water friend. Like, you know how you go to the water machine and you go to get your Coke and you're like, oh, come walk with me to the break room, right? Like there was no break room to walk to. And so he became my break room buddy. And so I would come and literally stand at the table. His desk is right there. And I'm like, babe, for like an hour, maybe one time. And he's like, babe, you do realize like I have to work. But doing that with him versus like picking up the phone and calling a girlfriend or talking it through with my coworker or your work husband or whatever the case may be, I think, you know, brought us closer as well. And then he learned how I process things. So it really wasn't, I'm attacking you, because I think you kind of felt that way sometimes. Like, I'm not the one who caused the problem. Why are you attacking me? But it's like, I just talk this way. I'm very passionate. I just talk in a passionate way. It's not you, but I need you to help me through this. So I think that helped. And I was talking to a girlfriend, and stop me if because I can go on about this, but talking to a girlfriend today, and it's like those toxic behaviors that exist before marriage are going to exist during marriage, or they're going to be highlighted even more. And I think if you don't have two individual people who work on themselves constantly and consciously, your marriage is not going to grow. And the Palmers have been married 21 years, and we're, teenagers or adolescent compared to you guys. But that's one thing that we've learned, is that we care about our relationship with God so much that it impacts how we treat each other. Mm-hmm. And so I think we were able to identify that in pandemic, and that's the source that keeps us developing.
Yep.
So we as men, I'm gonna just jump in there. We as men are fixers. I've been accused of being a fixer, of trying to remedy a situation, because I, at the very core of me, want to make sure that she's always happy. Mm-hmm. So I have been accused of trying to fix it instead of trying to internalize it the way that she does, and then maybe not even offer a suggestion, just listen to her. She has to talk things out. Victoria has to talk things out. And I have to be in a place to not offer a solution directly. Talk it out, bounce it back and forth, and then be able to maybe make a suggestion. And what that does is that spurs her thought process. It gives her the mindset, and she's secure in making the decision for herself. So yes. I'm sorry that we men are fixers. I just, I always want to see you happy. So,
and I try to tell him that I'm not going to be happy all the time. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes it feels dismissive when he wants to go to, well, let's just make you happy again. And I'm like, no, I got to sit with this. I am mad. Yeah. And it's not even a mad at him. It's just, I'm mad. There's something going on. These people at work are treating me this way. I'm going through this and this time. And so he's like, why don't you do that? That would just solve it all. I'm like, no, I need time to kind of sit in this. And I also need to bounce it off on you so that I don't seem like I'm crazy. And then when you go to fix it mode, I'm just like, girl, Sasha. And then it's like, because John is also a man of few words. And that can also feel like, I just poured my heart out, and you have, okay, so just call him. What? That is what you derive from the last 45 minutes of me walking back and forth and raising my voice and hands.
And mine, yes.
Yeah, just call him. And so we are also learning in the pandemic how to work together with that. So, Palmers, how was the pandemic for you all?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank you all for the transparency, especially Sasha, when she was sharing some of the struggles that they were having and facing, some of the issues, like she said, some of the things that were toxic and how they had to face it. And that's part of the growing in marriage. You're not going to be perfect and everything isn't going to be perfect, but we serve a perfect God who can bring us all to perfection if we give him that space. So our story is a little different, only because I believe prior to the pandemic, God was already working on us. So our relationship was already, many things were already being ironed out. So I saw it as an extended date night. I loved it. I absolutely loved working from home, having that opportunity, because teachers, we don't get a break. You can't go to the bathroom. You can't do anything. So it was a true blessing to be able to be in your own space and kind of, spread your wings a little bit. I loved that we would make the time to have lunch every day together. So that was really sweet. So we would sit, we'd come together and we'd sit on the couch, and then we got time to just talk. Our intimacy got better. We had, like I said, it was an extended date night for us. Now, I don't say it lightly, because we know that, we had to coach a couple of couples during the pandemic, and we know that wasn't the same for everybody. And for some people, it was a nightmare, that they were never waking up from. It was like, I got to get out of here. I got to go somewhere. I got to go to work, and they couldn't go anywhere. But I'm telling you, God prepared us. He truly, and I don't say it lightly, he truly prepared us, but it was work that he was already doing on us prior to. So when that lockdown came, it was like a little honeymoon for us. Yay, we get some time alone, and we get, to really be together and to really communicate. And so even if you had a rough spot, you could easily get over it because there was no tension, no stress going on at that time. So I thank God. I thank God for it. Anything you want to?
Yeah, that is, yeah, it went something like that. It went, in my mind, for some people, that lockdown was actually a prison sentence because they really, I like what you said earlier, Victoria, that, most couples only had 3 hours and then it was extended to 20. What I said that is, well, your marriage was part-time and now it's full-time with overtime. Okay, so now that you're working overtime because you're there at the same spot all day long, can't go nowhere. Now you see all the problems the officers really have. You're working overtime. You're not there part-time no more. Right. So now you really get to see. But think about it. Whatever issue that surfaced for a lot of couples was always there, but you would punch out and not see it.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So now you got to deal with it because you're working overtime by force. You can't leave. So now you got to deal with it. And a lot of couples did not have the tools to be able to deal with the problem that was always there because they always punched out. They always left. They didn't have to deal with it. And then when they came back home, got the kids, got to help them with homework, got to bathe them. Then we go to bed and we forget about it again. And you repeat that cycle. Well, I think God allowed the pandemic to happen to get us right. Not just the church, but the couple too. We are the church anyway. So it's still us. But with my wife and I, it's been great because we just got a chance to magnify what we was already doing. So it just got extended and it really helped us. But like we said earlier, a lot of couples, we was able to talk to more couples during the pandemic than we did the years prior because it's been rough. Now you're going to hear like two statistics with that. Some people will say that the divorce rate went up, and some people will say the divorce rate went down during the pandemic. The only reason it went down during the pandemic is because the courthouses were closed. So you're going to see two different sides of that. Of course, if it's closed, ain't nobody doing it. But as soon as they reopen and people are allowed to go back up, now you're going to start to see the spike. For the ones that did not resolve it, they still want to go ahead and go through with what their plans were. But for others, they had to tighten the financial belt. They had to get together and talk. We got to get through this. We lost our job. We can't afford a lawyer. We lost our jobs. It was a lot of reasons why we had to stay together, but some people wasn't always able to do that. So there's been a spike with people not staying together, but that's really why. So this conversation is good to have.
Amen.
Yeah, I love that. Before we got on here live, we were just talking about some of the points that we wanted to talk about. And I was saying that for a lot of marriages, it really magnified some of the things that they did not have to deal with. And for others, I think for John and I, as well as the Palmers, it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. I miss it. Like you said, being a teacher and then all of a sudden you're home, it was like, I can use the restroom. I can make my lunch. I can do so much because as a teacher, you are so confined to those four walls and those children that you forget, like, you're a human sometimes. It's like you're a machine when you're educated. Every educator can understand what I'm saying. You're a machine, especially if you're in secondary where you have 6 periods a day and it's just one group of kids coming after the other. You can kind of feel like you're just a robot and you're having to go through the motions. And so when that was taken off the plate, it just felt good to make a salad and make coffee, and we would go on rides, and I absolutely loved it. What some of, I guess you could say, did you think that the pandemic brought us closer?
It did. And it actually improved our communication as well.
Yeah, a whole lot.
Yeah, because, again, I became, her best friend. I am her best friend, but I became the person that's here. So you had to bounce things off me a little bit more than I normally would get. And same thing for me, I bounce things off you as well. And, we were able to come to sensible solutions within our marriage and then to propel our marriage to where it is now.
Yeah. And we also had a gift in this that God does everything well if you would let him. I can't say that enough. So Our daughter, Damari, who lives with us, she went to go and stay with her dad, and it ended up going on she was down there for like 7 months, which is the longest I've ever been without my daughter. But it was great because we are a blended family. So we have never gotten to be, when we got married, like Sasha and Chad, it's just then when they got married and we've never had that. So it was for us the first time where it was just us. And it was great. It was a great opportunity. And I believe that God orchestrated it that way. We could dream, we planned, we purchased a home. We were able to just begin to be like, what is God saying concerning our life and our union together? And people don't talk about that blended part of it, but when you are already a ready-made family in the beginning, there are a lot of things that you as a couple don't get to mature and develop. So it's like y'all come in and y'all are a family already. And so you're dealing with other parents and other things and other households to consider. So I think it was for the first time in our about to be 5 years of marriage that we were able to just be John and Victoria. And that was amazing. And when Damari came back, it was just great. Like we were back into sync. Because I think before the pandemic, all of us were weary and well-doing. Do you understand me? I was just like, you was getting on my nerves. This person's getting on my nerves. And what it was is that we needed to sleep.
Yes.
To rest.
Talk about it.
We needed to not just, I mean, during the pandemic, literally, my car would not move 7 days. Not for what? Where are we going? And that was amazing to just be like, this is what we're doing. So I'm just so thankful that we allow God. We would get up and play worship music and we would worship together. I love that. And so if you allow God, my point is, if you allow God to be the center and circumference in your life, he does all things well. And it was not easy. It was not like we were in the pandemic and we never had an argument or disagreement, but it was a time that God orchestrated for us to become better. And so I'm just so thankful for that. Amen. I want to say before we move on, because we're about to play a game, guys.
Yeah, one of the things I wrote down that I got from the Palmers and even from you is that people love their spouse, but they don't really like them. Right? Like, you know that this is a person who contributes to your household, you care about their soul well-being, but there are things about them that irritate you, or there are things about them that you don't like. And it's like, how do you get over that part, right? Like, how do you get from, I love you, I know I want to be with you, but I don't really like you. And if you can't get over that part, I think that's what drives couples to divorce, right? Like, you're a good mom, you're a good dad. I'm happy that you were the person that I had this family with, but you're not the person that I like enough to spend the rest of my life with.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
What changed? Because
no, with us, we're good. I mean, I'm just saying that I got that from what you guys were talking about. Maybe some of the issues that couples have had that drove them to, you know what, let's just end this thing. Like, I haven't spent enough time with you to identify that I didn't like you. But now that I know what that is, I don't want to waste any more time with you.
Right.
Which is why dating is important.
Right.
Because you need to see those seasons. You know, I believe that we had shared that the last time we were on. You need to know the seasons of people. Long enough to see, like, we dated 8 years and we knew each other since we were 16. We were best friends. I know his family. He knew my family. So, you know, like, for other people, it's like, what's the issue? You know, like, why aren't you guys like hurrying to get down the aisle? But God was teaching us and he was showing us some things. Like, my husband used to be very, very sarcastic, and he still can be, but that was something that I saw when dating. Never saw it when we were just best friends. Saw it when we were dating, and I addressed it while we were dating. I said, I don't like that. And that's something I'm not going to deal with. Now, that was even before we discussed marriage. But to me, I think if you don't start to, when you start to see the little red flags and you don't address them, they only wave higher and faster after you say I do. You need to address those things prior to. So if the sarcasm is a problem, state it before you say I do. Because when I say I do, I'm not dealing with it. If I don't do it. Right? So I think that's, people concentrate so much on you wanting that other person to love you so much, or you're so desperate to be in a relationship that you settle for garbage and you think that I can take the garbage out after saying, unfortunately, the bags surround your bed because you decided not to take the garbage out prior to saying I do.
Jeez.
Yeah. You need to address those things early. You really do. So, because then you'll run, like she said, into the issue of, I don't like you. I love you, but I don't like you. I like him a lot. But I like him because God gave us a great foundation. That friendship foundation was always there. So that was a blessing to begin with. But then as I began to learn different things, like even as far as finances, he's very, very good with finances. I wasn't. So I had to humble myself to be taught. Why? Because I don't know it all. This man was buying properties and doing all these different things. And I knew him before he owned one house. He ended up owning 5. But I knew him before he owned 1. So, and I watched him do the different things that he did with finances. And then when we got into a relationship, he was teaching me different things that I needed to do prior to us saying I do. Because I couldn't come into this broke. And I couldn't come into this with $1 million worth of debt. I had to work on some things too. So you gotta, if you don't address those things, you'll be sorry.
I love that. That needs to be on a shirt. That you think that you're going to take out garbage after you say I do, and you are not. I can't stress this enough, but I am the queen of boundaries. And a lot of times I find that, and we're no marriage expert, but this principle relates to all areas of your life. If you cannot have friendships this way, you can't have business partners this way. You have to address things that bother you, concern you right away. Don't let it happen and you're upset and then you blow up. You need to set the boundary. Hey, that does not work for me. That may have worked in the past, but that does not work for me. It triggers me. It bothers me. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Give reasoning now, because sometimes as wives, we just be like, don't do that. But hey, that triggers me. I do that all the time with, hey, that triggers me. When you do this reminds me of my dad. And that triggers me. I need you to reel that back. And he is now saying that too, like, hey, don't do that. I don't like when people do that to me. Nope. He had to teach me how to ask him to do stuff. I used to be like, do you mind? And he'd be like, don't ask me that way. And I used to be like, okay. And adamant about it. And he was like, no. Once he gave me the reasoning behind the way that I asked him for something, I said, oh, okay. And so I've gotten a lot better.
Yeah, got totally better.
He used to be hot with me. But those things, we would just keep going, and not say anything. Year 12, I say one thing, and that will be the ending of the marriage when it didn't have to be. So definitely have to do that. All right, so we're going to play a game because I feel a shift. Before we get in our shift, we're going to play a game, and then stay tuned, you guys, because we're going to be talking about the 4 things that causes Christian marriages to end. And you all will be alarmed. So we're going to play this game really quickly. So all of us have index cards with our names and our spouse's names. And John has not seen these questions. I'm the only one that's seen these questions. And so this is called our Who Is game. And I'm going to throw out a who is statement. And if each person is going to hold up the card of the person who they believe does this. All right? Yes. All right. So it's a lot of questions in all different categories. to kind of make it spicy and crazy, and we'll see. All right, we're being honest, everyone. We're
Yes.
being honest.
Yes.
We're going to be honest because we're Christian couples. Amen.
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 Amen. Amen.
All right, question number 1. Who is the better kisser? Who is the better kisser? Ooh. Oh, that's so cute. Chad and Sasha, that's so cute. John is definitely the better kisser. I'm not a big fan of kissing, so that's good. Don is the better kisser.
Love it.
The Chad say each other. I love that. All right, question number 2. Who is the better driver?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Even though I don't like his driving, I think he's still the better driver.
I'm holding on for dear life.
Exactly. I'm worried.
Fast. Yeah, too fast.
Yeah, John, I believe I'm the better driver.
Yeah.
Amen.
Listen, just driving slower don't mean better.
Thank you.
No, slow don't mean better.
It don't.
No.
Safe means better.
Exactly. But if I'm having anxiety driving with you,
Facts. I just
It's more dangerous sometimes.
you just listen, Sasha. I do. I have to literally keep my head down. If I see anything, I'd be like, it's horrible. All right. Question number 3. This is good. Who has the crazier family?
Uh-oh.
Woo!
We already know. We already.
I'm gonna zoom this in.
Sorry, family, if you're watching.
Love y'all.
Woo! Boy, between the Baskets and the Currys, we something else.
listen.
I knew you was gonna put yours up. I love your family, but y'all are good fun.
Mhm.
Who was it, Don?
It's my family.
Yes, all day. All day.
It's always one family. Okay, question number 4. Who has more pair of shoes?
Ooh.
And yeah.
You want to put it all the way up?
Yes.
Yeah.
The sneakers.
The
Jesus.
sneakers. And
Yeah.
that's recent. It's not even since we've been married. It's been the last 5 years. For some reason, I've just been collecting them.
Yeah.
I understand. I feel you. Same
Yeah.
here.
It's not from the beginning. I didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up having a lot of stuff like that. But lately, I just been collecting. Not expensive one. I'm not gonna get a $200 pet, nothing like that. If I catch a sale, I'm gonna get it right then.
That's
You
right.
know, and I just been catching a lot of sales.
I just think he's catching it. That's it.
Catch a lot of sales.
Catch
I'm
it.
gonna go.
He just
I
gets,
said, next year I'm gonna need that, so I'm getting it now.
Right.
Sasha has a problem.
I do. It's bad. And I think quarantine has not helped at all. But I it's a good problem. It's a good problem to have, right?
Chad, your shoe game has been on point too now. I think Sasha's rubbed off on you.
it's getting better with maturity. You need a certain level of shoe with your age. So
When I met Chad, I had to throw away the white salsa loafers. They existed, and we had to get rid of those quickly. But God,
But God.
yes, hallelujah.
John has had, because they are thrown away, these green, hunter green.
Adidas. They were Team Adidas. They were Michigan State team shoe.
Man of God, defend yourself. Go ahead.
I like the shoes.
They were, now John wears a size 15.
Oh,
So
my God.
you imagine big green shoes coming towards you on y'all first date.
Why were they coming for you?
They just felt like boats, just green boats. That's all I can see. And he was just wow.
Oh,
They were horrible.
Killing it.
yes, you're killing it.
They were horrible. Okay, let's go. Who said I love you first?
I don't
Really?
remember.
I don't remember.
You have to say it first.
Why?
I love it.
That was your word.
I don't remember.
Oh, y'all don't.
You said it first. No. I think you said it first.
Okay, I love it. It was definitely John. Who is the first to apologize in an argument?
Really? No, you are not.
What?
I don't mind.
You did ask for truth.
Yes, I'm gonna apologize.
I love it.
Not first.
It's always John at our house. Always. I have to really think about it.
Process. No, man.
Process.
Stop being mad. I'm sorry. Let's move on. You want some ice cream?
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Okay. Who is the talkative one?
Who's the positive one?
Talkative.
Oh, talkative.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Oh wow.
Dario. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, love it. All right. Number 8. Who is more spontaneous?
Wow.
I love it. I am safety Victoria at all times. Who is more dramatic?
Not. I am not.
Yeah, she's more dramatic.
Excuse you, sir.
You would think the movie camera came out.
Your name was really big in the screen.
Goodness.
Whatever. I am not dramatic.
Lights, camera, action.
All right, number 10, last one. Who is a better dancer?
Oh, we already know. We already know. It's her.
Oh, Chad.
Chad. Okay.
All right, Chad. All right.
Okay, I want to see you bust the move. All right, thank y'all so much for playing this segment with us of Who Is. I hope y'all got to know us better, and we're learning about each other too,
Yeah.
which is hilarious. All right, so now we're going to go a little deeper. Can everyone say in the comment box deeper? Deeper. We're going deeper. Yes, we're going deeper. All right. So again, we are here tonight to talk about Black love, and celebrate Black love. But I also wanted to talk about the state of Black marriage. And so if you will indulge me, I want to read some alarming statistics about Black Christian marriages. So marriage is a beautiful thing, as we know, but I believe it encompasses hard work and intentionality. I know you hear it a lot that people say marriage is hard work, but I really believe it's intentionality. And being intentional means that sometimes it can become hard. All right. So over the past 10 years, I have been so excited to see just this growth of the celebration of Black love. There have been podcasts and TV shows and marriage ministries just globally celebrating and promoting positive Black marriages. And so I want to commend all of you all that are working in that space because it is a hard space to work in, but I commend you for encouraging Black couples. You all are encouraging Black singles to, hey, we can stick this out and wait and come into having a successful marriage. So, however, with all of the fuzzy and lovey things that we've been talking about, the divorce rate among Black marriages is 42%, which is higher than our white counterparts at 36%. One study said that Christian marriages are failing at the same rate, if not slightly higher, than non-Christian marriages. And so I think it's important for us to have a conversation, because if we have God, Holy Spirit, and Jesus in our lives, why are our marriages still failing? And I think that is something that we must discuss, because we have the Father, and He can make all things good and great and all of that. And He actually created marriage. And so if we say that we follow God and we follow Christ, then our marriages should be lasting the longest. Our marriages should be flourishing. Our marriages should be thriving. But I feel as though a lot of times in the Black church, we have done the marriage ministry and marriages a disservice. I feel as though at times we have separated the wife and the husband. I feel as though we've allowed the wives to stay in the kitchen and we allow the husbands to sit on the pulpit. And we did not promote marriages sitting together, worshiping together, living together, doing life together. And I think as the Black church, we need to get back to saying, no, we sit together as families here. We want our children in church here. We want our families sitting together as units here so that we can learn how to worship together and to know the God that we say that we serve. If we say that God is going to be the center of our marriage, then we need to see that publicly in church. And so tonight, when I was also looking at some of the different things, my first question I want to pose for the panel is, why do you think Christian marriages are failing? Why do you think Christian marriages are failing? And if you are in the chat, you can also answer that. We want to feature your comments as well. Why do you all think Christian marriages are failing? I'll start with the Palmers.
You want to start there?
No, I'll let you go.
All right. Well, there's a lot of reasons why, but the main reason is that we're not doing it God's way. If we are getting divorced at the same rate as our non-Christian counterparts, that means we're doing the same thing they're doing, expecting different results. So I can't do things the way they do it and expect something different. The only way that we can get it right is to go back to scripture and see what it says about marriage. And there's two locations in the Bible we need to go back to. That's the love chapter in Ephesians 5 and Genesis. In the love chapter, Paul tells us exactly what we need to do to lay the foundation of marriage. Before Paul talks about love, he doesn't talk about romance, communication, integrity. He doesn't talk about none of that stuff. He talks about submission. And that is the foundation of every marriage, submission. And until we get the submission part right, think about it. That's the first thing that Satan attacks in the marriage right now, submission. That's why, my wife, if we got a problem with submission, then she don't want to do something for me. I don't want to do something for her. And then it affects the rest of the marriage. So we have to learn how to do that, because when we submit, we're serving one another. The Bible said to submit one to another. That means I got to submit too. I can't just tell her to submit to me. The Bible says submit, and then I'm expecting her to do it because I said so. But yet I haven't submitted to God. She can't submit to me unless I've submitted to God. And remember what our marriage is. Our marriage is a picture of the relationship between Christ and the church. And if it's that picture, that I'm supposed to be doing what Christ did. What did Christ do? He submitted to the Father and he died for his bride. My job is to do the same thing. Submit to Jesus and die to my bride. If I'm not doing that, I'm not doing what he told me to do, because we were created in his image. If I'm created in Christ's image and his likeness, I ought to look like Christ. When he looks at me, he ought to be looking in the mirror. Okay, so the only way to make sure that he's happy looking at me is for me to do what he did. And that's to serve my wife by dying to self. So I'm doing the things that she needs. I'm making sure she's covered. I'm making sure she's happy. That means sacrificing things that I want so that she's happy. So her submitting to me is not me getting what I want. It's me giving what God told me to give. And that's everything.
That's good.
That's good. I love that. I love that you started by saying that the reason why we are failing, which is a very broad statement, and we're going to break it down even more, but it's because we're doing it the way that the world is doing it. And if we want to do it the way that God intended, since he is the creator of it, then we need to go back to the book that tells us how we are to function in that way. And that's so good. The homes, what are some of the things, or what are some of the reasons why you think Black Christian marriages are failing?
One of the things that I wrote down while you were talking was, if we're not submitted to God, so going back to what Don or Dario was saying, same Holy Spirit, but if we don't understand submission to God, how do we expect to be one with someone and submit to them? If marriage is only a healthy depiction of your relationship with God. So if your relationship with God is healthy, then your relationship with your spouse is going to be healthy. If you're off in communication with your relationship with God or with Holy Spirit, the communication and the synergy of your marriage is going to be off. And I didn't start to understand my mom and my stepdad's relationship until I got into my own marriage and started to understand covenant. And I think a lot of people don't understand covenant.
Yes.
Our pastor talks about covenant a lot. When you cut covenant with someone, you're literally, and he gave us a picture of this, but you're cutting yourself, the person is cutting their self, and you're joining, it's the blood covenant. Your blood is connected to mine. And if you feel like you're going to get into marriage and you're already giving it a sentence, then that means the first roadblock you hit, you're done, because you haven't gotten into true covenant with that individual. And so I think two things: submission, you lack understanding there, and you lack understanding with covenant and what it truly is.
Very good.
I was going to say something similar. I think sometimes we're not good Christians, so how can we be good spouses?
Wow.
So if we're not listening to the Holy Spirit in our own lives, if we're not changing, we're getting into relationships not expecting to change. So I'm going into a marriage thinking, oh, you're gonna just accept me for who I am. Well, who you are is not that great in and of itself without the Holy Spirit teaching you and growing you on a day-to-day basis and learning and getting better every single day. And that's the thing I love about my wife. Like, she's constantly trying to get better and trying to better herself. So that empowers me as a husband. She's doing all these changes. Why am I not doing the same amount of changes? Why am I not looking at myself? Why am I not working on my relationship with God even more? You know what I mean? So you really have to analyze, how am I doing as a person? And if I'm not analyzing how I'm doing as a person, how can I expect to be good for this other person? How am I going to expect for this person to want to be around me if I'm not being a good person or a good Christian? So
I love that. That's so good.
Can I?
Yeah, there's something else. Go ahead, babe. She gotta say something.
I wanted to add something. I loved how he was saying that some of us are not good Christians. And I truly believe, like, during those 8 years that we were dating, God was shifting a lot of things in my life personally, but he was trying to also get me to see, before I would go into any other relationship, what marriage really is. Because I saw the person that's going to be your spouse as Superman. You're going to come in and you're just going to rescue me from everything. Maybe even some men see the women as Wonder Woman. That's not their job.
Yeah.
So he was saying to me, literally, until you see me as Superman, you're not going to have a marriage.
Come on now.
You're not going to have a serious relationship. And it seemed like every time I mentioned marriage, it was like, did you guys ever see that movie with Chris Rock, the comedian, when he was going to be president?
Yeah.
And he would go, security. And then Robin Gibbons would be, that's exactly how it was. Anytime I even mentioned it, he was like gone. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. But God was working on him. He wasn't ready. And I certainly wasn't ready, because my view of marriage was something of rest. Like, I was putting all of the responsibility, which was really God's responsibility, on him.
Yeah.
And that is not what God wanted. He wanted me to get this right first. And then when that's right, as we are now in a covenant relationship, he continues to work on us. We still have to continue to have that relationship with him. Because a lot of people even drop it after they say, I do. Yeah. They think it's just about the prayer time that you have with your spouse, or just about the time that the two of you read the word together. No, you better be getting up reading that word for yourself. You better have a prayer life with the Lord, because the Lord still has to work things out in us individually to be that better Christian, like Chad was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I want to get into as far as a relationship, I think that the very core of it, your relationship with Christ has to be intact. And from that, the reflection of who you are as a person individually will flood into your marriage.
That's good.
There's nothing that you can do to tell me hey, you need to act and think this way. And I see you and your actions and your behaviors don't line up with what you're trying to get me to be. I'm going to figure you to be a hypocrite. I'm not going to really trust you with my heart. If I see you and your actions are exemplifying Christ and God is being glorified in your personal life, I'm definitely going to want to join my life with you. There's nothing more to say besides that. With that, that's wow.
Yeah, I
love what
love
you guys are saying.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I tell, I have a lot of single friends and who are fabulous, which Sasha is going to start her services to help them find eligible bachelors. But anyways, that's an inside joke. But one of the things that I tell them is that if you are not ready for every single part of your life to change, then you are not ready for marriage.
Yeah.
Same way that when you come into relationship with the Father, your life is going to change. And it shocks people because we don't tell them that at church. We don't say, hey, we invite them to the altar and we tell them make this commitment. And then they are shocked that their friends disappear, that they find themselves abandoned, that relationships just fall apart, and they don't understand that. The reason for that is because when you come into that covenant with the Father, then things have to change. Your blood and his blood can't connect if it ain't, you know what I'm saying? So same thing with our relationship. The minute we came into this relationship, friendships changed, the dynamic, the Bible tells us that we have to leave and cleave. So your relationship with your family changes, everything changes, your sleep patterns, and people don't even understand that. And so they come into marriage with the fairy tale. They come into marriage thinking that it's going to have that Wonder Woman or, like you said, Superman complex, and they're shocked. And that trauma of the shock of it all shut down a lot of times. And because they don't have the tools, they don't know to go seek the Father in everything that they're going through. I believe it's one of the reasons why the relationship fails. Mr. Dario.
Yeah, so to add to that you are definitely right. But now in Genesis, when you go back there, if you look at how God created it, he said that Adam and Eve were naked and not ashamed. And a lot of times, the reason these marriages break up is because we're no longer naked. We come into our marriages with all the baggage and all that clothes on because we don't want to expose anything. We don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to say what our credit score say. We don't want to be honest about what happened when we was a child. We don't want nobody, because that was in the past. I'm going to leave it there. We're not being open and honest up front. We put out our representative like we do at an interview, and then we expect it to work out. You know, but we have to be vulnerable and open and honest from the beginning, because whatever you're hiding will come out. Like you said, everything's going to change. Years later, all of a sudden, you wonder why we having issues, because of something you didn't talk about that happened when you was 5.
Come on now.
It's going to come out.
Amen.
And then in this pandemic, everything's rising to the surface. It's going to come out. And it's because many times from the beginning, we wasn't open, we wasn't honest, we wasn't naked. When Adam and Eve was naked, the Father knew everything.
Yes.
They was open with each other and with God at the same time. So the reason that I'm not telling her everything, because I haven't told God everything. It goes this way first.
That's good.
If I can't be open with God, how in the world am I going to be open with her?
That's good. That's good.
That's why this is a picture of that. I'm going to get this right. This is not going to ever be right.
Amen.
So we got to be open with God first, and then we can know how to be open with our spouse, so that God will reveal things early, so that we can talk about it early, so it don't become an issue later on.
So
Amen. And I just had one more thing. The carefulness is not to swing to the other side where we're so spiritual and so committed to serving the house of God or the people of God that we lose the connection or forget about serving our spouse.
Right.
We're so into serving others that we don't get to serve our spouse in the same fashion or even at a higher level. So when we're not serving our spouse in that same fashion, they're feeling neglected. They're not feeling like you're considering them. They're feeling like they're left behind in those moments. So it's finding that balance of how can I serve my spouse like I feel like I'm supposed to serve God as well.
Yeah.
Because God's not going to leave your spouse out of the equation.
Yeah.
So how do I put those things in balance?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good.
Pastor talks about it at church, like, you know, you're at church and everything that the pastor needs, you're right there. Let me get your bag. Let me open the door. Let me, you know, eliminate those challenges for you. But when it comes to your spouse, they're watching you like, hold up, who is this person? Because this person that's serving at church is not the person that comes home with me at night. And so you're depending on that person to grow and develop with you, and you're a stranger in your own home. Right. And so I can't trust that your relationship with God is truly your relationship with me, because you're two different people. It's almost like schizophrenia. Like, I'm confused. So my spirit now does not know what to do with you because it's confused.
And it's competing. It's confused and it's competing because this is your first ministry.
Yeah.
This is the first ministry. So God is looking at this and he's holding you accountable.
Yeah.
So if you're serving the man of God better than you're serving your spouse, like you always said, you're in trouble with God.
Yeah.
God doesn't even honor what you're doing for your pastor. That's more important than your spouse. That's not honored.
That's why when God created us, he didn't create us in a church.
Yes.
He didn't create us in a temple. He didn't create us in a synagogue. He placed us in a garden with each other, a place where we can grow and till and cut back. That's what a garden is, something that can be cultivated.
Yes.
He didn't place us in a church to cultivate that.
Yes.
It's in the garden to cultivate each other and learn and grow with each other.
That's good.
That's good.
That's really good. I hope y'all are getting these nuggets because they have been amazing. They're coming right, left, up, down. You just gotta catch them and apply them to your life. Even if you are single, these are things that you need to be thinking about now. What am I doing in my relationship with God? Because we all like, oh, he has to be saved. She got to be saved. But what is your relationship with God doing? And making sure that you are attractive to that person. I love what my husband said when he talked about, like, if you appear to be hypocritical, and we can go down this rabbit hole, but I feel led to do it. Ladies, you say, I don't want a guy who talks about sex a lot, but your booty cheeks are hanging out on every picture. It's kind of like, I don't know what you expect him to say when he sees you. Or the guy like, oh no, I don't do this, but we can see what you like on Instagram, man of God. And so we're all confused. And so we have to make sure that we present ourselves in the way and in the image of God. Not to the point that you're boring. Listen, I'm not boring. We don't wear, jean skirts and socks to our knees and ankles anymore. But I'm just saying there has to be something that says this one right here, she loves God, she knows God, and she's working on her relationship with God. Not saying that you are perfect, but when John met me, I believe that's what he saw.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I like those socks, though. I like the socks.
Your knees?
You like the socks to the knees?
I like your knees.
Right.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
All right. So one thing we wanted to talk about as for the next couple of minutes is talk about what is some of the things that have been proven to be said, reasons why marriages fail. And they said that they fail because of 4 areas: infidelity, sex, finances, and communication. So we're going to take all 4 of those areas and talk about them tonight. So the first thing I want to talk about, because once I posted this flyer, I had a couple of inboxes from married women saying, like, I'm having issues with infidelity. And it's shocking because my husband is Christian. We're Christian. We're trying to do this. And not just always on his part, but also because women cheat as well. how can we make our marriages cheat proof? And like Chad said, we can't just always think that it's going to be all spiritual. We have eyes, we have ears, and again, there's a lot going on and a lot to see out there, and it can be very easy to be tempted. And so my first question is, why do you think so many marriages are ending due to infidelity? And why is it hard to remain faithful? I want the guys to go first because y'all get a bad rap.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Y'all get a bad rap.
Chad, what you got, Chad?
Well, I think a lot of times we have to analyze what our intake is as guys, because what we intake is going to come out of us, and that's what our actions are going to be, what we're going to be thinking about. So if I'm constantly on Instagram, constantly taking in these images and videos and movies and all of these things that are going to influence my behavior, like you have to analyze that. What can I handle as a guy? What can I? So
as far as what?
So a lot of Instagram can be sexually influenced. Movies, sports commercials, a lot of that's really influenced to target men and attract them to a certain look of a woman, a certain look or a certain behavior. Music videos, they're all kind of surrounded with this idea of how a man should act or should be or look. So it's really protecting yourself, setting boundaries for yourself, and not indulging in things that, well, I'm a man, I can do that, I can look at whatever I want. You can, but if you want to protect your marriage, if you want to preserve what God has given you, you have to watch your intake. So I think a lot of it starts with your intake. Like, what are you watching? What are you receiving on a daily basis?
Yeah, your eye gate and your ear gate.
Mm-hmm.
Us as guys, I know me, I think I'm the only guy with a beard here. Beards are very attractive to the ladies, and I get a lot of unwarranted compliments. Mm-hmm. And if you're not guarding yourself, like you're not protecting your space, you can feed into that foolishness. And the enemy is very, very cunning and very, very slick, and have you in a way that you really don't want to be in. Mm-hmm. So it's all about protecting your space. Us guys, we see ladies, like you said, Chad, with the Facebook and Instagram and videos and commercials and all these images and these things, but at the very core of it, you as a man of God have to represent yourself in a way that you would want your mate to represent herself when she's not in front of you as well. Because most guys, we figure, oh, she's not in front of me, I can look and see and do this, but God is always watching, guys. So don't put yourself in a predicament remotely with God that you're in front of your wife and you're thinking about another image or some other person that you've encountered in a day. Don't put yourself in that position, guys.
Wow. That's good. I love that y'all said about the intake. I didn't think you all thought about that.
What?
About your intake and the images that you all are looking at.
Yeah.
That does shape your thoughts and your actions. I love that. I didn't think you all thought about that. Mm-hmm. That's good. Mr. Dario.
I agree. I definitely agree with both of you. And I think it starts with men at the age of probably 9. I teach middle school, and I know for a fact that with the advent of the technology that they have in their pocket, they have access to things that we did not have access to when we was their age. Mm-hmm. By the time students are in high school, 80% of them have seen pornography. And many of them by the age of 9. It starts as early as 9 years old. On average, some younger, but the average is 9. And with those influences now on their cell phone, in their pocket, they have access to the internet 24 hours a day without any limitations. They're just sharing pictures back and forth. TikTok is bad enough by itself, not even including just the internet, just certain images just on Instagram. Everything is sexually explicit to boys now. And that's all they see. And that's all that the girls are showing. That's all. Because they're copying what they see on videos. Mm-hmm. They're copying the videos The guys are looking at the girls, and that's what they see going into marriage. So they believe that what they see is what they should be doing or what they should have.
Mm.
No one's there to teach them along the way that these things are not right. So they go into a marriage with those same images and those same hangups, thinking I can handle it. But they have not gotten any of it out of their system. God has not, quote unquote, saved them enough for them to realize that it's going to take the Spirit of God. Just because you say I do, don't mean you do. It doesn't mean that. I, for one, felt like once I get married, everything I did in the past would be gone. I won't have to worry about it no more because I got a wife. You know, years later, I realized, wait a minute, those images still in my head. What is this? What is this going on? Then I realized I hadn't got over it. I thought people think that getting married, you're cured.
Mm.
It's not a cure. It's a revealer.
Yeah.
It will reveal, just like the pandemic, it will reveal what's already there. It won't cure you from what you had before.
Mm.
No more than it cured the women that go into it thinking that her past won't affect her now. What happened when she was 5 or 8 or 12? Now you're married, wondering why you don't want to be intimate sometimes because those images are flooding back.
Jesus.
So with the men, it's the same thing. We have those images, and now we wonder why I'm not really attracted. I want you to do what Cinnamon did. Well, because we remember what we saw at the club. You know, and when they don't do it, now you got issues. Or you with your wife thinking about Cinnamon. Okay? Not saying nothing.
Yeah.
And getting by with it because you're still performing all right.
That's
But
real.
you know you got issues. So that's why eventually he succumbs to that, and then it begins to manifest itself at a greater way. And now he finds himself in a situation where he's actually going out to see Cinnamon.
Wow.
But it starts in his mind, and it started before he said, I do.
Mm.
Wow.
The problem, he might not have cheated before, but you know, he wasn't married then. But after he got married, those images and those thought processes had always been there. They're just now manifesting years later in his marriage. But if you go back far enough, you'll see when it began.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Mackenzie Moore, I love this comment. He says, I think a lot of us men think we can compartmentalize our intake from our marriage, but it affects our subconscious.
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
so good. This is revealing to me because y'all couldn't have told me before this that men thought like that.
Yeah.
Because me and my friends talk about it all the time. I'll give you an example. When women are waiting to get married to have sex, we go through a whole thing. We can't listen to R. Kelly no more. We can't watch certain movies. We really try because for women, we have those same urges. And so we go through this whole I don't want to do that anymore. I never thought that men even had an inkling that does affect them. So I love that.
I don't think a lot of men do know that, though. I think it takes a realization of yourself and what changes, and the Holy Spirit talking to you and saying, hey, you need to stop watching this. You need to stop looking at this because this is affecting you. I think men are so used to, even before you get married, if they've had multiple sexual partners, whatever, they're used to always having something new or something fresh or whatever. So when you're in a committed relationship, you don't know how to make what you have new and fresh.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Is looking for something else to become new and fresh. Oh, I have to bring something else in. I have to change this. I have to go to someone else for that freshness instead of working on like getting a new car instead of spending time with that old classic and making that better and waxing it and taking care of it. And you know what I mean? Like two different mindsets. You have to change your mind to what the expectation of marriage is and the benefits of what marriage is.
Mm-hmm.
So, ladies, wives, what do you say to the woman who waited before marriage? She really tried to keep herself, not saying she was a virgin, but she waited before marriage. She really tried to keep herself. She gets in a marriage and she has a husband who is intaking a lot of different things and is not pleased with the fact that she is not trying to do all of the things that he is intaked. What do you say to her? She's frustrated. She feels inadequate. Like, what do you say to her? Because this happens a lot.
I would say to her, I think number one, you have to be real with yourself, right? Know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You're beautiful just as you are. You know, be secure in who you are and deal with those insecurities, right? Number one, like face those insecurities and what they are. But number two is if your spouse is open for counseling, the thing that I kept hearing through this is therapy, 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 therapy. Or like you've identified the Palmers as a safe couple for you, where you can literally become naked in front of them and have them to speak into the areas of your marriage that you can't speak into, or someone speaking to your spouse that he'll listen to, right? And so one thing that I encourage Chad to do is get a friend, because my husband is fine by himself with his own thoughts. And number one, have at least one friend, babe, that you trust that. And now this friend calls, they talk to each other every day. And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? You know, but anyways, and then I have a couple of other friends who did marriage counseling well after they were married, right? And so it's, if you feel like you can't please your spouse, figure out what it is within you. Like maybe you have some internal vows that you've made. Maybe he's telling you he likes a certain thing. And for you, someone in your Christian, because one thing I think with marriages is so I love what you said about how women go through this whole season of detox before we get married, or we've been either celibate or we come into marriage being virgins. And all of a sudden, and this is something I personally dealt with, was, okay, honeymoon time, and I'm supposed to become this sexual vixen. Like how? When I haven't explored myself sexually, I don't know what I like. I don't know what turns me on. And now my husband, who's been hypersexualized and exposed to all of these things, wants me to do X, Y, Z, and I don't even know how to do that yet. Right. And so I think having a real conversation and being okay with being vulnerable with each other, because there are some things that I said to him, I'm not doing that, in our pre-marriage days, and we got married and I realized, okay, well, that's not going to work. So Sasha, you got to deal with whatever and overcome that and be okay with what your spouse needs and know that you're not less of a woman or whatever because you've done that thing. And as I learned to please him, I realized, you know what? I like seeing him happy, so I'm willing to go there, right? And so what would I say? Number one, go to therapy or find someone that you trust, that you and your spouse can be open to, and have the conversation about what do you like and what am I willing to do to meet that.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really, really good. Miss Dawn.
All right. We almost need a whole night.
Whoa, so much.
All right. I'm going to take us all the way back to the naked and transparency part. Because even prior to marriage, we don't ask about those things, right? We may want to know, like he mentioned, the credit score. And I want to know if you've got a job and if you have children and how's the baby's mom or whatever. You may ask all of those questions. Do we ask, do you watch porn? If you do, how often? Do we ask if you masturbate? Do we ask if you go to the strip club? And if you're in the church, because some people in the church still go to a strip club.
Yes, they do.
Some still masturbate. Some still watch porn. If they have those things going on, what are they willing to do to be delivered from those things? Think about it. Those are questions, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say that I was asking, but those are questions now, after having been in a marriage, you need to ask. So any single lady that's out there, know if this man prefers to look at something before he wants to be with you. That's important, because God needs to work on that, and they need to know that they need deliverance from that.
Yep.
They may not even know. Like he was saying, you need to be a good Christian. You need to know when you need deliverance.
That's so
Even
good.
from some women that you know, I've known of girls that if they weren't in a serious relationship would just pleasure themselves all the time. And I knew a young lady that got married, and when she didn't always feel fulfilled, would go into the bathroom and continue pleasuring herself because she had gotten so conditioned to this is the only way that I will have an orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I'm going to do, right? Or that isn't going to be enough. So even for her, she needs some deliverance. This is such a serious, guys, and such a sacred thing to the Lord. And when, you know, a lot of times, you know, when we say, you know, you need to pray about this and you need to pray, and some people actually almost find it offensive to hear that because they think it's a cop-out. But to me, it's the most powerful thing you could ever do in your marriage is to pray about everything, including what happens in the bedroom. Because a lot of times, and I had mentioned this before on another panel, that we don't invite him into the bedroom with us.
Yeah.
So, and for some of the ladies to understand, some of the men are turned off with what they see coming to bed. If I'm coming in a nightgown that's torn, ripped, dirty, you know, I just burped the baby and he threw up on the back of it, and now my husband wants to be, he doesn't want to have his head on my shoulder and there's baby throw up on my shoulder because I'm too tired to, do you understand? We got to think. You know, there are times when I'll go to bed with some makeup on and my hair's still done, not in a bonnet yet. Why? Because I want to look sexy. I know I don't look sexy with a bonnet on.
About it.
Really, I don't. So I'm not going to, if I know that my husband, we are doing something, we plan to do something tonight, the bonnet's not on. The ugly nightgown, because we all got one, or a long shirt or whatever, that's not sexy, that's not going on. You're putting on something. Why? Because we're not technically competing, but guys, in a sense you are. Because the devil already is set up for the men, like he was saying, you already have to, you know, you got to guard yourself against what you see. But what they see is always there. Why? Because the enemy wants to show them somebody else's behind, wants to show them somebody else's breast, wants to show them somebody else's private parts or whatever. And then they come to bed with you and you haven't even groomed your private part.
Mama.
I'm being very graphic here, but we got to teach the people because this is stuff that's not being taught.
Come on.
When they see those things, they see something that's clean.
Men groom too.
Listen, right. And some men groom too, but then they come, you know, they go to bed with you and they need a John Doe lawnmower to get through to see you. Come on now.
I love it.
We don't know how to clean up. We don't know what to, come on. If we're not trying to make ourselves attractive, you're leaving doors open. Now, granted, I want to go back to something Victoria said when she said, how can we make our marriages cheat-proof? We can't. That's not our job. Because who can know the heart of man? Only God.
Yes.
So God is the one that has to, because that's a heart thing. Marriage is God's thing, right? It's a holy and sacred thing to God. And if it's important to him, it should be important to us. But we've got things that we've got to do on both sides.
Jesus.
If you can't handle the Instagram, shut it off, cut it off, and don't get another account if you can't handle it. Right?
Yep.
Yes.
Handle some of these pictures coming in, cut those people off. And ladies, if you want them to be more attractive, make yourselves a little bit more attractive. And I'm not talking about that you got to be a size 2. You can be oversized and still be sexy to your man. Make yourself look good for them. We don't talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
We remember grandparents going to bed with rollers in their hair and long, long nightgowns that weren't cute at all.
Yeah.
And wondering why your grandparents could possibly have an affair because this is not sexy to them.
Jesus.
So there are things that we need to do for ourselves. There are things that those men need to do for themselves. If deliverance is necessary, get the therapy. Go to the counseling sessions. Go to some of the marriage retreats. We've been married 21, almost 22 years, and we've attended 11 marriage retreats. In the beginning, we were just going because the churches were having them. But we were learning along the way some things to do and not do. And those things have helped us. Some people think, you go to a doctor, right, when you get sick. And sometimes you make an appointment when you're well for what? A physical.
Right. In the wheelchair.
You can't even be sick to get a physical. They'll tell you if you're sick, don't even come. They want you well.
Right.
Why? Because you need to see what's actually going on. Let me take your blood pressure now. Let me take your blood now. Let me have you run on a treadmill and see if your heart is beating right. That's what those marriage retreats will do. They will show you when you think your marriage is healthy, some areas that may not be.
Yeah.
Why? When you leave there, you can go home and work on them. We got to do some work. Men, women, and we need the help of the Lord. If we don't ask him for help and you trying to do it on your own strength, it will fail.
Yeah.
It will never be cheat proof, ever be cheat proof without the Lord.
Amen.
I love that. Drop it.
Yeah.
Mama. I love that, especially for the ladies. I think that is so important. That is wisdom there. Take it, hold it close to you, because a lot of times we're not having those conversations. We're just telling the wives to just go and pray about it. But there are things that you can do practically that can help benefit your marriage. I'm so glad that you talked about that, because me and John, we asked those questions while we were dating. Do you watch porn? Do you do all of that? Because I knew that was a door and an opening for a lot of different things in marriages. And I just did not at least try to ask the questions, try to put in the actual work to make sure that we had as much of a solid foundation. And one thing I would also encourage couples to do, and I think you agree with me on, is to have the tough conversations. It is uncomfortable, but you're with this person that you said for the rest of your life. So I mean, get over it. Even if you got to write it in a letter, whatever you have to do, have the conversations about how you all can please each other, how you all can be connected towards each other. Let's continue to have the conversations, because without them, then it leaves room for the enemy to begin to say things in our minds, make us feel certain ways. And it's not even that, it's just that we have left room to not have conversation. Yes. All right. So we're going to move on to finances, because I think we kind of talked about sex as well. So when we talk about finances, a lot of marriages are ending due to finances. What can couples do to avoid these financial problems? And what is some of the advice that you would give for single people, or dating people, I should say, on what they can do in conversations and questions they can start asking to help them come into a marriage and not have such issues with finances? And I'm going to kind of go first, because this is something that has been something in our marriage that has been a huge thing for us. Coming into a marriage, being totally transparent about your finances, and not allowing and giving the spouse the opportunity to decide whether or not they can handle, work through, deal with, benefit, and allowing your spouse to have the opportunity and the wherewithal to say, hey, I can help you with this. Just allowing the person to have the decision. And so John was not totally honest in the beginning. And you can tell, because I feel like I'm telling on you.
Yes, I incurred some debt from just being irresponsible with my money. Not that I was living frivolously or anything like that. It's just I wasn't being accountable to areas I needed to be accountable to. Just not, meeting deadlines and things like that, and carried those things over into my marriage. And I committed pretty much financial infidelity. And that's a real thing, guys. Just be honest about where you are, and either allow your spouse to either accept it or reject it. I tried to take care of it myself and in my own way and in my own time, and it just never got done, to the point to where it affected us in our marriage together, and we had to work through it. And we're just pretty much getting through all of that I could have taken care of years ago. So I would think my advice to the guys would just be completely honest with the person that you're dating. Hey, I'm in this kind of predicament. I'm working through it. I have things in place, and follow through. Make it happen. Don't just, put things out there and you don't follow through on them. Then you become a liar. Then they can't. It's a really bad snowball process, and it affects the trust and the foundation of the relationship. So definitely, guys, I would advise you to be honest about your financial standings.
And for women too, I think we know of wives who hide packages and, move things to different accounts and have their own separate accounts. And we know all of that foolishness. And I know Mr. Dario will help us with all of that. But I think it's very important to be honest from the get-go, women and husbands, because finances plays a big part. I don't care how spiritual you are. You cannot hop around 3 times and $1 million just shows up. You have to have some things in place, and you have to do what the Bible tells us. You pay your taxes, you do all of the different things, because those things are important. And so it's important that you begin the relationship with honesty in all areas, but especially finances. The homes, what are some things that marriages can do to talk about finances and all of that?
So one thing I want to say for the single ladies is, do not discredit your potential husband based off of the financial situation that he may be in while you're dating or courting. And I say that because when Chad and I first met, I was well on my own in a corporate job, moving and shaking and doing my thing. And he was just starting out, still living in, his house with his parents or whatever the case may be. And 7 years later, here he is with a higher corporate title than me, making way more money than me. So that's the first thing I would say, just to the singles is, don't despise small and humble beginnings. The second thing is just what you guys said, talk about finances. I am guilty for being a dream chaser, and my dreams do not have a price tag. And oftentimes I will do what it takes to make whatever happen in the moment and not consider how that might affect my spouse. And so if it's a position that I'm passionate about, but in this true story, this may take me back, a $20,000 pay cut, but pushes me forward, in the career path. I'm like, yes, I'll do it, whatever I need to do. And I really had to stop myself and say, wait a minute, how is this going to affect my whole house? How does my husband feel about this? Is this truly what God is saying? And if I jump and make this move without his opinion, what is that going to do with our relationship? And so now, before I jump and allow my heart to lead, I stop and say, hey, babe, I'm considering doing this. How do you feel about it? And it may be okay, but just to have his opinion and make him feel like he has a stake in the dream builds a better foundation for us, if that makes sense.
Yep. And I was going to say with that, definitely the communication part, and it's different for every household. But for us, we have a joint account and we have an allowance that automatically goes to our personal accounts. So if we want to get each other a gift, we're not asking each other, oh, can I get you a gift? So we have little personal money that we save for our birthdays and things like that, or incidentals and things. So I think it's that communication and then trust. As far as finances, I know but when we first started out, we didn't have a lot of money. We're living from paycheck to paycheck. So we had to be a little bit tighter with our finances, and we had to trust one another that when this check comes, that one of us is not going to go spend the money on whatever they want to spend it on at that moment. But if we had to build trust with, okay, we communicated what we're going to do with this paycheck. Let's see the follow through. And that communication on a constant basis builds your relationship and trust with each other, because you're both trying to reach a goal together that you both agreed on.
Amen.
But if there's no agreement in that goal, or one person trying to go this direction with the money, another person trying to go this direction. Oh, I paid this bill, but what about this other bill that's going on? You know, if that communication didn't happen up front, then it can cause a lot of conflict. And I think that conflict happens when that sit down and those constant checkpoints don't happen within a marriage to make things run smoothly. It's like you're just expecting things to flow, or, well, you said I was handing them money, so, but it should take both people need to be and provide input.
Yeah.
So
one thing, just to quickly say this, that his parents taught us is they had this concept of having family meetings. Okay, like we would have family meetings, and we still do about once a quarter, where everybody gets together, his sister and her family, you know, and we all talk about what we're doing as a family. And we carried that through to, or we at least tried to, with our relationship. But growing up, my mom didn't have family meetings. Like, what was that? And so for me, that was completely foreign. And I'm the person that's, when the paycheck comes and I feel like we said we were going to pay the light bill, but I want to pay the credit card, then I have the tendency to just do, right? But I think having those family meetings and making those decisions, and if you have to sign a contract on it or whatever you do to help, you know, maintain that agreement, I think do it.
That's good. The Palmers.
I like Chad and Sasha. I like them. They all right. They all right.
Y'all would.
No, listen. You got to get sick and tired of being sick and tired of debt.
Yeah.
I've seen so many people, not twice our age, but almost in the 80s and 90s, still with a mortgage. My wife and I got tired. I got tired. I know I did. Our story is really simple that I decided I didn't want a mortgage anymore because years ago we had a Lexus I bought for my wife, and I realized that she loved that red Lexus, boy. She really loved. She still feel the pain today.
I do. I really do.
I came up with a plan to pay off the house, and I said we gotta shave some things. She was all for it until I mentioned the Lexus. As long as I ain't mentioned Lexus, good. But as soon as she had to feel some of the pain, then she didn't really like it that much. And she allowed me to work the plan that I wanted to do. And I had to get rid of Lexus. I had to get rid of a lot of things and change a lot of things around. Take my son out of private school, put him back in public. I was living large. Doing everything that I wanted to do. And we went with the plan. And I refinanced the house from a 30-year to a 15. No, actually, to
15.
a 10.
No, 15 and then to a 10.
I went from a 30 to a 10 and paid it off in 7. I was that drastic. And that showed me that we could do what we want to do.
Yes, sir.
We can do what we want. You don't have to have a mortgage till you're 60, 70 years old. I paid it off like at 50 and or 49, one of them was somewhere around there. I paid it off. I did not want to have a mortgage like I know other people in my family that's well in their 60s and 70s still with mortgage payments. I didn't want that. But it's a decision. It's a decision. And just like everything else, you can decide together to start early and knock it out. Maybe you can't do it in 7, but you don't have to be there for 30. The system has designed it for you to be there for 30, but you don't have to be there for 30. Even if you cut it to 15, you can do that without doubling the payments if you know how the system works. But my main point is that you have to really get together with your spouse and decide what the plan is going to be, because a lot of people go into marriages or financial situation without a plan in place. But once you come up with the plan and say, this is what we're going to do, stick with it, and you can, get out of debt. Because I talk about this all the time. I said, think about the pressures on your job. Where does all this pressure from your job come from? It ain't coming from your job. It's coming from your debt. How much pressure would you have on your job if you had no debt?
Exactly.
Your house was paid off and your cars were paid off and you went to work and they started tripping, would you feel any of that pressure?
Oh,
You better preach.
No. Once I paid off my house, my job would do whatever they want to do, and it would not change my standard of living because I own my house.
That's good.
When we paid it off in 7 years, I realized, wow, it wasn't as bad as I thought, but we had to make some dramatic changes in how we lived. We couldn't live like whoever the Joneses are. We couldn't live like them anymore because we had another goal.
Yeah.
So I had to get rid of the Lexus. I had to get rid of the private school. I had to get rid of the big lifestyle of looking good. I couldn't move. We wanted to move into a bigger house. You know, we couldn't do none of that. We said we need to stay right here and get rid of all this debt. And now we can do anything we want to do and not be 60, 70, 80 years old doing it.
come on now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I love that.
my whole thing is that it's possible. It's possible to do it. It is possible. It's not as hard as many people think. The system will have you think that is difficult. You got to do it. You got to take 30 years. No, you do not. It takes a mindset and understanding how they work. And I learned how they work when I became a mortgage broker. When I started buying property, I realized, wait, I need to be a mortgage broker to understand the system. Once I did that, then I said, oh, that's what y'all been doing to us all this time. When I realized how the system worked, I switched and said, I could pay off this house in half this time. I need to do some changes. And once I did that, then I became debt free.
Amen.
That's what I did.
I love that.
Very
I
good.
love that.
Yeah.
I think that is so important to even as we wrap this up to end that on, because one thing that I hope that you got from this conversation is that Black love is beautiful, but you have to be intentional and don't be afraid to build in your covenant with your spouse. It's not going to come in and all is going to be well. You're going to have to build and you're going to have to communicate and have some real conversations about your future. And don't forget to include God in the matter of the things. God has been able to do more with our little than I can even have time to talk about. And God has been faithful because in everything that we've gone through, we have said, we need to ask the Father on how we are to proceed moving forward because we don't know in our own strength. And so I pray that you were inspired by each and every one of the couples tonight, the Palmers, our veteran couple, and the Holmes, the Shakers and the Movers, and the Hicks. I'm so excited that you all took this time out with us this evening. I'm going to have them do their closing remarks, and then I have an announcement and some ways that you can follow us and tell you what our conversation is going to be next Monday. So, couples, can you give us briefly your final thoughts on love, marriage, anything that you wanted to share as we close out tonight? I'll start with the Holmes.
Go ahead, babe.
All right. Well, I just want to say for those that are pursuing relationships or even in a relationship or marriage, don't be afraid to do the work. If this person that you've agreed is your person for life, is worth it, do the work, make the changes, make the adjustments, because this is the person that's going to be with you for your lifetime. So they are worth it. They're worth any changes, any adjustments, any switchings of attitudes or feelings or whatever needs to happen. God has graced you for that person. So whatever changes that need to be made, God will help you make them. And it's not impossible.
Amen. First of all, Victoria and Johnny, thank you guys so much for what you are doing with Making History. And Victoria, what you're doing, pouring into us every single Monday. Your labor will not be in vain. And hopefully your pocketbooks are a representation of how much of a blessing you've been to all of us. But final words of advice, one thing that I wrote down that is that if you are single, pursuing marriage or desiring marriage, therapy, counseling. If you think you don't need it, go because you do. And just work on being a good friend, work on being a good daughter, work on being a good servant, work on being a good leader, pursue your purpose. And one thing that I heard, our pastors always say this, and their spiritual parents say this. Shout out to Pastor Ron and Gina. But they say, run your race, just run your marathon. And on your marathon, you will find your spouse running their race as well. And then both of you will stop and you're like, man, we're on mile 20. And you look over and you're like, you're still running with me? Hey, what's up? How you doing? Let's talk. Let's break. Let's, figure this thing out. Because obviously you're able to hang with me. So you'll find your spouse pursuing the things of God. And one amazing piece of advice that my sister-in-law gave me was never use the D word. Like, get it out of your vocabulary. Not saying that there aren't reasons for separation or reasons, to move on without someone, that we know abuse and things like that. But take the D word out of your vocabulary. And like Chad said, work and you'll see the fruits of your labor. And also lastly, but Elder Tucky always says is they've been married almost 53 years. And she said that you will be married to different people throughout the course of your life. Get used to it.
That is so good and so true. Before we go to the Palmers, honey, any last things?
I would say do the introspective work within yourself, folks that are dating and courting, and also to spouses to encourage each other, deeply encourage your spouse. I would say through the love languages. Me and my wife, our languages have changed since dating and now being married and now getting deeper into marriage. It's important that you really know your spouse, that you really take the time to know where they are, to assess where they are, and to be what they need at that very moment, not what they've always been.
Mm-hmm. That's really good, because we have definitely changed in these 4 years, because life happens.
Yes, it does.
And when life come, me and my friends used to say, life. When them life battles come, they do come to change you. Yeah. And you have to grow through them. So I love that. Palmers, what are some of the last things that you would have for our audience tonight?
Well, I will say that, of course, you've got to get your relationship right with the Lord. Make sure that that's on track. I love that you also mentioned about the love languages. Maybe they should read those books. A lot of times we read that after the fact. Read it before and know what your love language is. Yeah. So that even as you're in the dating stage, if I know quality time is my love language and the young man that I'm trying to hang out with finds every excuse to not spend time with me, that's a problem. Because when you say I do and they're never home to be there, you won't be doing much doing. Because they're not going to be there. So you know what that love language is? First of all, know the Lord, seek him, and actually ask him to make you wife worthy, make you husband worthy. And that may mean some extra credit assignments that you may have to do without somebody in your life, actually, because the Lord really needs to work on us before we get it. This is really important to God because it is ministry. It's ministry, and it's a testimony to the earth. And if this is all jacked up, we could be messing up somebody else's chances of living a good and holy and sacred marriage. We want to just do our own thing. It's not about us. This union is not about us. Amen. It's to serve the purposes of God. So seek the Lord, know what you're supposed to be doing together. And then even when you're seeking the purpose for your marriage, God will begin working separately, even on that. There'll be things that he'll place in your spirit, place in your spouse's spirit. And as you all come together, you'll be amazed at how, wait a minute, that I've already been doing. And this you've already been doing or whatever. And God just puts it together. Why? Because that purpose has to be fulfilled. It has to be. So he'll put it in you long before. So seek those things out. Know what God intends for you to do as a union for his people. Amen.
I want my marriage to be a picture of the gospel. When the world looks at us, all of us here as married couples, do they see Christ? They should see salvation in there, because our marriage is a picture of what Christ did for his bride. So I must do the same for my bride. I'm following his command. So I want to make sure that I always do that. I keep that in mind all the time now. It's not about me. God did not create this union to be about me.
Mhm.
This is always pointed back to him. He did it for his sake, not for my sake.
That's good.
And I think once we get that right, once we understand why he created this, then we can better serve him.
Amen.
You know, and he'll bless our marriages because it's pointing the right way.
Mhm.
You know, that's I say it all the time. When Christ looks at us, he ought to see himself.
Amen.
So I'll leave it like that. God bless y'all. This has been great.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you taking your time out on this Monday. I appreciate you. I try to finish around 10, so we're doing really well. Last couple of things. Next week, we'll be back on a Monday at 8 p.m. here on Facebook Live and on YouTube. And we will be talking to some fabulous ladies that I've invited to come back and talk about, which is the other side of this conversation. Women that have gone through divorce, but they are bouncing back. And they made a bounce back, and they are striving and thriving in life.
Yes.
Sometimes we find ourselves in situations where it needs to end.
Yes.
And there is still more to do and more to live after the divorce. So that's what we're talking about next week. I think you all are going to enjoy that. These women are phenomenal. Also, I am launching a boutique. I mentioned this earlier, the Victoria Hicks brand boutique. It's a plus size boutique, which I'm super duper excited about. If you are interested in being a part of the launch and you want more information on it and you want early access and some free gifts, make sure you message me your email or just go on my feed and you will see another post that talks about how to sign up to be on the VIP list. You can also email me at info@thevictoriahicksbrandboutique.com. All right, so that is it for everyone. Make sure that you share this broadcast. Even if you came on later, you can watch it tomorrow at work. A lot of times I just let it kind of play in the background because sometimes the nuggets, I need to hear it again. They were dropping tonight, left, right. They were coming in somersaults all over the place. I just had to catch them. The audience can tell you those nuggets were great. So thank you all to our audience, the faithful people that come on every week. Join us next week, Monday, as we close out Black History Month in February for another Where Do I Fit In? The talk show. Panelists, don't go anywhere. We will see you all next week. Bye.